I am inevitable. New Fantastic Four news. Emergency Austin just posted it. I'm a big Fantastic Four fan, big Doctor Doom fan. Let's get right into it. Let's see what it is.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel released the new Fantastic Four movie teaser. I just did a big video for it, and during that video, a lot of people asking what's going on with Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom, because Galactus is meant to be one of the big villains of the movie. Right after they released the teaser, it was revealed that they would be featured in some way during the movie, so we'll break it all down, because it does sound like they're doing something very different than what they've done with the characters in previous films. We just saw the Doctor Doom teaser in the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, so naturally it makes sense that Marvel would feature him in some way during the new Fantastic Four movie if they want to set the character up to be a much bigger person during Secret Wars in the movies. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. We have X-Men 97 episodes in a couple weeks. It is going to be crazy. Of course, I will do videos for everything.
I feel like we just got here. I feel like we never even left. I have no idea where I am in time and space.
So the big Doctor Doom Easter egg in the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer is from the Secret Wars #5 comic book. We've talked a lot about that because it is literally right out of the comics. Like, it's a very Deadpool kind of Easter egg. Like, here is the actual real-life comic book.
Great cover.
We know they're doing Avengers Secret Wars as a possible two-part movie now with Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. That's actually a pretty big change, just doing a two-part movie instead of doing Kang Dynasty for Avengers 5. Those movies would be a much bigger role for Doctor Doom, given how he was used in the more recent version of Secret Wars in the comics as God Emperor Doom. Naturally, when they announced the new Fantastic Four movie cast a little while ago, they released that teaser revealing it was set in the year 1963, just after President Kennedy's assassination. Most of us assumed that at some point at the end of the movie, they'd find a way to time travel back to present day before Avengers 5 starts so that they can interact with the other characters. They can also be part of that. But the big missing pieces of the puzzle was the new MCU Doctor Doom and Silver Surfer because, like I said, they announced that Galactus would be the main villain of this new Fantastic Four movie while it was back in the year 1963. And Marvel would naturally be using this as an opportunity to do something more comic book accurate than the last time we saw Galactus in the original Fantastic Four movies. No more floaty cloud Galactus.
That sucked. God, that was so bad.
Allows them to add a sense of style to the movie. It's a little bit crazier than you would expect in present.
Yeah, they can have a little bit more color and more pop to it.
Do a crazier looking version of Galactus that's more comic book accurate.
It is known by many names. My people called it Galactus, the devourer of worlds. My service spares my world. It must feed on energy to survive, both thermal and organic.
The Chris Evans Fantastic Four did use Silver Surfer. He was voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, who's been in the main MCU movies and series as Bill Foster Goliath for a while now. He literally just came back in a bunch of What If Season 2 episodes in the 1980s Avengers and was also featured in the What If Season 3 trailer. I really did enjoy his version of Silver Surfer. There are a lot of things you could say about those original Fantastic Four movies. They didn't quite stick the landing on those, but there were some things that they did get right about the characters. Galactus just was not one of those things.
Galactus sucked.
Actually, Galactus going to be a metaphorically and literally big character in the new movie. Everyone was asking what's going on.
I like the thing though.
Surfer.
Michael Chiklis' thing was actually decent.
One of his heralds. And reportedly, at least as recently as last year, his main herald in the movie was supposed to be Terrax, not Silver Surfer, and they were trying to do something a little bit different with his heralds. So at the time, I assumed that meant they would totally swerve on Silver Surfer in the movie and just not introduce him till another later movie. There were also rumors about them doing the Silver Surfer special presentation, which are basically like small TV movies for Disney+. They did the same thing with Werewolf by Night, like Werewolf by Night special presentation, and then they introduced him in other big movies after that. But now it sounds like there will be a version of Silver Surfer somewhere in the movie, at least in a small way. Now, Silver Surfer was not Galactus' first herald, so it is possible that the Fantastic Four kill his first herald, or his first herald dies at some point during the movie, and that causes him to select Silver Surfer as the replacement herald. That would be kind of
That's
comic
alright.
book accurate. His original Herald was called the Fallen One, and just became too much of a problem for Galactus, so we had to throw him in prison, and he would just continually try to break out and fight Galactus, and that's why he selected Silver Surfer as his next Herald. Terrax, though, for instance, wasn't his Herald till like many Heralds later after Silver Surfer, though. Like, that was much later in the comics. The whole reason why Galactus got rid of Silver Surfer as his Herald, though, is that because originally when they debuted Galactus in the comics, Silver Surfer was his Herald. He led him to Earth to consume it like you naturally would as a Herald. But during those early Fantastic Four comics, like this is very early in the Fantastic Four's run, in the 1960s in real life, Silver Surfer rebels against him, joins the Fantastic Four and the Watcher Uatu, who we've been seeing in the What If episodes played by Jeffrey Wright, and Galactus punishes him by trapping him on Earth, which really wasn't that much of a punishment. It was an excuse for Marvel to have runs of comics with Silver Surfer on Earth with the other characters for a while.
Silver Surfer,
Eventually, Galactus
badass.
came back to Earth and tried to get Silver
Awesome
Surfer back on
character.
his side.
Love to see him in a movie.
Unsuccessfully. That's when he finally gave up on the matter and went and selected his next Herald, who was called the Airwalker. But over the years, Galactus has had
Just don't want them to
many heralds.
woke it
Some
up.
of
You
them
know,
were
I heard rumors
ridiculous
that he was
than
going to
the
be
others,
a
like Thor was his
chick.
herald. Not that ridiculous.
Who wants
Aunt
that?
May, though, became the herald
Not
of
me.
Galactus, for example.
Huh?
Even the Hulk became Galactus's herald.
Mhm.
Most people also point out that he himself became herald of Franklin Richards. That's how powerful Franklin Richards is, who is already canon in the larger MCU universe through the 838 universe. During Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, John Krasinski's Reed Richards said that he had multiple children.
Please. I have children of my own. I understand your pain.
Is their mother still alive?
Yes.
Good. There will be someone left to raise them.
At the time, that was meant to be a reference to both Franklin and Valeria Richards, his two children from the comics. But at the time, he made it sound like Franklin was still a very young child, so even if he does want revenge and he's super powerful, he's probably not going to get it for a little while. And Galactus didn't become Franklin's herald until much, much later in Franklin's life. There hasn't been any big casting news for this new version of Silver Surfer yet, but he's super powerful. It sounds like Marvel is just setting the character up slowly so they can use him in a bigger way during one of the upcoming Avengers movies like Avengers 5 or Avengers 6. Totally makes sense. He's a huge part of the Fantastic Four's canon. It would be weird if you introduced them, then Galactus, and did not introduce Silver Surfer. There's also no real big casting news on Galactus, other than they're still trying to get either Javier
Excuse
Bardem
me.
or Antonio Banderas to play his voice. So either you have the Puss in Boots version of Galactus, or like the darker version of Galactus. I think most people would prefer the darker, edgier version of Galactus, but either one of them would be great. Physically, though, like I said, it just makes sense that they do a more comic book accurate looking version of him, which does seem a little bit crazier, but because the entire movie is set in 1963, like the whole vibe of the movie is meant to be a little more over the top, it all makes sense. Like it fits with the tone of the film.
The scale is again in balance. All is as it was.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
There have been a couple times when they've almost used Galactus and Silver Surfer in previous Marvel movies. Thor: Love and Thunder is probably the most recent example of that. Like, there was a deleted scene where they had this entire sequence, like a montage, showing you the development of Jane Foster's version of Thor as she starts to figure out her powers. There are about 6 months that go by where she has the power of Thor before she actually runs into Thor himself. During that time, she was going to have a montage facing a bunch of different monsters, battles, other big characters from space. One of them was going to be Galactus. Like you can very clearly see here, a very comic book accurate looking version of Galactus, but I think they were smart to remove this from the movie because it would have been a really weird, little too comedic way to introduce the Galactus character. People were already upset enough about that movie, like you want to ruin Galactus by trying to introduce him in some over-the-top comedic kind of way like this. But it does look
Didn't
like
like the
Marvel
movie.
is now
Did
doubling
not like that
down
movie.
and doing Thor 5
Too
like
funny.
a much
Didn't like
more
Ragnarok
hardcore
either,
version of Thor
so.
with a totally different director and a totally different writing team. Hopefully that will redeem the character, but because there's such a strong connection between Thor and Silver Surfer in the comics that go way, way back in the classic comics, hopefully we'll actually see those characters in some way during Thor 5. Just in terms of the brand new version of MCU Doctor Doom, it sounds like what they'll do is they'll introduce him at the very end of the film, and because his origin story is tied so closely to the Fantastic Four's origin story, the early theory right now is that he's also from the 1960s and will somehow time travel to present day, and that's why we haven't seen Doctor Doom until present day, like right now in the MCU in real life. That's also how they get around the Eternals problem of explaining why we haven't heard about the Fantastic Four until now, because they are from the 1960s. Is a Doctor Strange shout-out during Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness about them charting in the 60s, but it sounds like during the events of the new movie, they'll explain how they tried to lay low without creating too many problems, too many Nexus events, so to speak. And however they solve their Galactus-sized problem during the movie, they'll keep it under wraps so that it isn't reported all over the world. So, like, everybody on the planet doesn't find out about it. Otherwise, everybody in present day of the MCU, like everything from Iron Man to the present day movies, would be talking non-stop about giant space beings with helmets running around. They try to address this whole real-world aspect of, like, how the world deals with the Avengers Endgame movie, and pretty much everybody on the planet at this point knows who Thanos is and knows about the snap in the blip with everybody coming back. So, like, it's common knowledge. People on the street, like regular people, know about it. They kind of got into that during the Shang-Chi movie where they were casually talking about it with their friends. So early theory is right now as they convince Galactus to not consume Earth back in the 1960s, saving the planet, then they time travel to present day. I know there have been a lot of questions about them possibly being from an alternate universe. That seems like an extra twist, so we'll see about that. I think it makes a little more sense if they just come from the main MCU universe in the 1960s.
Yeah, because then it just gets way too damn confusing.
More complicated than it needs to be. But everyone post all your fan casts for Silver Surfer in the comments. They did just say that Henry Cavill is joining the MCU as a brand new character. It's always possible that it could.
Oh yeah, I want him as
Surfer,
Cyclops. Henry Cavill as Cyclops. Great casting.
You can actually see his face and visibly identify him as Henry Cavill, even though he would be like the most swole Silver Surfer you have ever seen. That isn't really what Silver Surfer is like in the comics, though. Like, he's way leaner. Best example of that is that Doug Jones actually did the physical performance for Silver Surfer in the original Fantastic Four movies. He is super, super skinny. They'll be filming the movie later this year, so we'll get some more teasers. I'll do more videos as we learn more about the movie. But if you have any questions or theories, just post them in the comments below. There are way more clues and details in the teaser that they released a couple of days ago. I already done a much bigger video about that. Click here to learn about all those. And click here to learn about Henry Cavill joining the Marvel Universe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Alright, that was very interesting. Go over and subscribe to the Emergency Awesome. I've been subscribed to him for a long time. He's a great YouTuber. You should, listen to his stuff. But yeah, I think that's great. I think that's pretty damn good. I'm fine with, I wasn't too down on Pedro Pascal as, Mr. Fantastic, but I can live with it. I mean, I'm gonna have to. I like, Kirby as, Sue. Joseph Quinn is okay. He's alright. I like the guy as, The Thing. And The Thing looks great. I think The Thing looks fantastic. No pun intended. Actually, yeah, pun intended. But yeah, it looks great. I am so looking forward to that. Because every single Fantastic Four movie, in my opinion, has been ass. And I don't like them. Even though I watched one of them, I think it was the second one, like, a shit ton when I was a kid. But yeah, I'm really wondering how they're going to bring the X-Men into this, because I rewatched X-Men First Class, and I almost wish that they could just copy and paste that into the MCU. But yeah. Tell me what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next one. See ya. Now, subscribe.